We've all had experiences with friends, good or bad, we're human, it happens. Maybe not all of us have had a falling out, but I have. Many times. From the same person. Like those videos, stories, and fiction pieces about the girl running back to the toxic boyfriend, I had a very close friend of mine that played this game perfectly. For the sake of this story, we will call her Charlie. So Charlie and I met when we were in 4th grade. We met in our youth group at church, and our friendship was literally based upon the fact that we both played Minecraft on the Xbox, something I was really into at the time. I heard her talking about trolling to one of the boys in our group, and I joined in on the conversation, quickly becoming good friends with Charlie. Which was my first mistake. As the years went on, Charlie and I only got closer and closer. She introduced me to many of the things I used to be and still am into now. But despite how good of a friendship we had, our relationship was far from good or healthy. Most of this could be chalked up to kids being kids, but my other friends never acted like this in the way she did and how frequently she did. To set the stage, most of her cruel antics were translated into jokes or trolling to me, since surely a friend would never be harmful to another, right? Charlie first got me into Five Nights at Freddy's. At the time, I had seen FNAF 1 and 2 on the App Store, but I had no idea what they were, and frankly, the images scared me since I was not a horror enjoyer of any kind at the time. I also was fairly new to video games, especially Xbox. Prior to this friendship, I was only well versed in DS, Wii, mobile, and arcade games. So one of my first times being over at her house, she invited me into her dad's office and sat me down at the computer. Not in front of it, of course. I had to sit either in a fold-up chair or on the ground when we played in here. She asked me if I knew what FNAF was. Obviously I said no, and she offered to introduce me to it by starting up FNAF 3 on Nightmare mode. I lasted only a second before I died and gave up, thoroughly perturbed and horrified that she would do something like that to me when I had no idea what I was doing. I never got the chance to play on her computer again, and I ended up doing my own research and thus unlocked an interest in the franchise myself. So much to the point that I changed my iPod touchscreen to a picture of Bonnie from FNAF 1. And the next time I came over to Charlie's house, I was really excited to show her that not only had I learned the games and became a fan, but I had a new cool screensaver that surely she would like. I was so wrong. I showed it to her and she immediately started yelling at me, demanding that I change it back because I was not allowed to do that. I told her no, but she kept freaking out, so to get her to stop, I changed it to a My Little Pony picture until I got home and switched it back, and I made sure to never let her see my screensaver again. Which, side note, after I wrote this, I remembered a crucial part of this. After I changed it to the My Little Pony picture, she thus said it was cringe and made fun of me for doing that. The same thing applied when I once tried to play a joke on her by using her Xbox skin for Minecraft, the Mass Effect Talizora skin, which I forever associate with Charlie now. But she had a freak out and demanded that I change my skin back or she would get off and play a different game with someone else. The same thing kind of happened when it came to kinning characters, which I still don't thoroughly understand, but back then we both were really into Five Nights at Freddy's and we both loved Rebornica's Five Nights at Freddy's fan art. And at some times we were joking about how alike we were to Purple Guy. That's a very horrible thing to do as kids, but we were thinking of it in innocent terms. And I remember mentioning something about eye color. And my eyes are naturally brown, hers are blue. And I remember distinctly her telling me, "No, Dex, you can never be like X character because your eyes are brown, and brown is poo color." And I still remember this to this day simply because I was always insecure about having brown eyes. Since I'm not the blonde, blue-eyed girl, I've always been brunette and had brown eyes. So when something like that was brought up, it really did irritate me and make me very insecure about my eye color. Since then, I've grown to love my eye color and I love being a brunette. Yeah, I do some balayage color here and there, only if I have the money to do so. But I've grown to love how I look, and so this kind of thing doesn't affect me anymore, but back then it was a really sore spot. There are multiple moments like this in our friendship. Many times she would go out of her way to troll me when we played Minecraft, knowing I was absolutely terrified of Herobrine at the time, and we still had access to that skin during this time. So she would play jokes on me to believe Herobrine was real and in every world I ever played, thus making me too afraid to play by myself most of the time. But when I tried trolling in my own way, she would berate me, make fun of me for even trying, and especially for failing. Other times, she would have us play games where we had to do PvP, and since I didn't understand video games all that well, I always lost, and she made sure to make me feel that humiliation by berating me even more. Pause. By now you're probably thinking why I stuck around. Well, because we did get along really well and I loved being around her. I was like a moth to the flame. I knew she could be mean and I knew I had to walk on eggshells when I was around her, but I loved her so much that I couldn't bring myself to stop interacting with her. It was a phenomenon I still don't understand and I still can't explain. But back to the PvP, I was so determined to prove myself to her, like get her approval I suppose, that I would practice these games on my own so that I could finally beat her. And anytime I got close to winning, she would fly across the room and turn the Xbox off just before my victory. There were even times where she would do this and run off, and I would have to just awkwardly sit and wait in her room until she came back. And mind you, this is when we were over the age of 10. What's even stranger is that she considered me to be her best friend. She invited me to everything and we did virtually everything together. I even got along with her parents too, and they also loved me and told me how much Charlie loved me as well. So I was convinced that this was just normal. And it wasn't. Anytime I would fight back against her, or if I tried to mess with her like she would with me, she would have a full-on crash out, like griefing my worlds in game, logging off out of nowhere, or just running away. And finally we came to a point where she ran away for good. It was around 6th or 7th grade, and I can't remember what we got into it about, but I remember I kept pushing her buttons over text to be funny. Then she clapped back with a random accusation that I was romantically involved with my little brother, which, no! She only said this because I defended him a lot when he was younger, since I was his big sister, and of course I would do this because I love my family. But that doesn't make me scum. So naturally, I got mad about this, but I didn't take it too seriously and continued with the teasing. But that must have been the last straw for her, because she cussed me out over text and practically told me to never talk to her again. Naturally, this frightened me. She was my closest friend, and now she was gone. Just like that. I also never saw her at church again after that, which she always called me cringe for engaging with church, but I'm entitled to my belief and there's nothing cringe about following a faith or a belief. She had a weird habit of calling everything I said, did, or liked cringe or lame. She never spoke anything uplifting to me, and for some reason, I just sat there and took it. I can't remember how exactly we came back into contact. I want to say a friend of hers, or my personal belief, one of her burner accounts, messaged me on Instagram or Xbox, I can't remember. But she was begging me to take her back, basically, and since I felt so empty without her and missed having someone with similar interests to talk to, I took her back. Which was my second mistake. Pause, little bit of Dex lore for you. This girl was also the reason why I started to hate everything I used to be into. Anything pink or traditionally feminine in any way was made fun of by her, so I refused to engage with that stuff, and I even decided to favor the color purple since she loved that color as well. And black. I was literally becoming her, and she was still not seeing me as a person, let alone a friend. Things were exactly the way they were, with the exception of a few games, and now she had a pet dove named Archimedes. I don't remember much from this part of our friendship because everything was as it was, but maybe just a little less aggressive. We had less sleepovers, but we still hung out online all the time, and at this point, she was gradually getting me into Transformers, which you'll know is one of my favorite things ever. So there was one instance where I was friends with a few people from a summer theater group who had their own Minecraft server. We had since moved on to PC at this point. I decided it would be funny if I invited Charlie into the server one night while everyone was offline, and we basically would pull a Grinch Stole Christmas and steal everyone's stuff and hide it until everyone was back online. Obviously, I did plan on giving everything back though. So we began, and we succeeded. However, I started to notice she was leaving small, offensive builds, like, and some of the stuff we took was missing. She had it on her and pretended to act like I was accusing her of nothing. This server was owned by close friends of mine, and I immediately started to feel guilty, so I begged her to help me put it all back and to put back what she had hidden in her inventory. But she said no. She actually got mad at me for even suggesting that we stop, and at this point, I was freaked out because now the work of all the players was in jeopardy because of me. I begged and begged her to stop and help me fix everything, and she did, sort of. She got mad at me even more, dumped all the stuff, and then ditched the server. I spent all night fixing everything, and I confessed to my friends about what happened in case I missed anything, and all while I was apologizing to Charlie for upsetting her. Which, like, why I even did that was insane. She ended up calling me some very unsavory names and thoroughly pissed me off, so I told her to never message me again and that we were through being friends. I know at some point she came back to me again during COVID, but she low-key ghosted me hardcore, so I just gave up on trying to message her. I think the dates get messy, so honestly, we can just say all of what happened next occurred between 2020 and 2022. It wouldn't be until I was in my sophomore year of high school, 2021, fresh out of COVID, that she would reach out to me again through a burner account, once again, begging for forgiveness. At this point, it had been a year or two, and I was over what happened with the server, but I was wary this time. I accepted her apology and we became friends again, and this time, it felt really healthy. We talked all the time. She was relatively nice to me, and she got me into Transformers, like, a lot. We had planned to do some cosplays together, but that didn't happen. We drew together a lot like we used to, and we played video games like the good old days. Our friendship lasted until around my junior or senior year of high school. I really can't remember, but at this point, I was becoming myself again. I would ignore her aggression and just do what I wanted. I was becoming my own person, and she seemed to hate that even more than me copying her to appease her. What makes this fallout so strange to me is that nothing happened to cause it. It was just one day we decided to have a sleepover at her house, and she criticized my art hardcore, making me feel stupid and terrible at art because my style didn't match hers or her desired look. Then she spent the entire time on her phone talking to other people. At this point, I should mention what that came from. I won't drop her username or what it used to be simply to protect her, even though she doesn't deserve it. But she was becoming a somewhat popular name amongst the Transformers fan artists. I think she even collabed with Lindaxi Art. But I could be wrong about that. Anyways, she was a huge Pharma fan and everyone in the community knew it. Whether they did requests, commissions, or collabs, people knew Charlie as the Pharma fan online. But what they didn't know is that she was lying about her identity the whole time in order to interact with these people on a personal level, most notably claiming to be 21 years old when she was 16. The reason why she did the age thing is because majority of these artists claimed that no one could interact with them unless they were over the age of 18 or 20. So the sleepover was a bust. I was low-key peeved for being ignored all night just so she could message her Transformers friends and just scroll on Twitter. So eventually I just went to sleep to time skip to the next day, and I left the next morning without even saying goodbye. During that sleepover, we bonded briefly over one of the new Caves and Cliffs Minecraft soundtracks because of how intense it got in the middle, which we found really funny. The reason why I bring this up is because shortly after this, we had kind of stopped talking, but then I had mentioned something about the song, having maybe I found it and I sent it to her, and she read it, but did not reply to me for months. We didn't really talk much after that sleepover, mostly because I was upset with her and she made me feel like crap. She actually did bring it up, and I told her that she made me feel horrible about myself, all of which she denied and proceeded to gaslight me into thinking I was imagining it and that she would never do such a thing to her best friend. Bro, I went to this girl's violin concert to support her. She only came to my musical because I begged her to come, but she didn't even care because she was on her phone the whole time. Anyways, this was the final straw for me, and again, I can't really remember exactly what happened this time, but I basically told her that I think we should stop being friends because she was nothing but a cruel, narcissistic sociopath and I was tired of dealing with her. Then I blocked her on everything. During my senior year of high school, or maybe my freshman year of college, I got curious about what she was up to since it had been a year since I told her off. So I searched for her on Twitter and couldn't find her account, but what I did find were threads and screenshots of Discord conversations between her and these other Transformers artists. Apparently, she pulled the same crap on them, and they put a stop to that behavior quick, even calling her out for acting like a 16-year-old who didn't get asked to prom, which is hilariously ironic since that is actually what happened. But to me, what I got from that is that she got kicked out of the group and either blocked me or deleted her accounts. I had a moment where I felt so at peace knowing that this monster was finally getting what she deserved. All the years of emotional abuse and bullying was finally over for all of us. And I was so freed knowing that others saw it too, and it wasn't me. I honestly forgot about all of this moving forwards, only missing the brief good times we had and only being able to thank her for making me learn to type really fast so I could beat her at texting. It's a long story. But I look back on this with a deep hole in my heart, because this was years of my life I spent being afraid of another person that I valued, and I wish she valued me, but she didn't. As many times as she pretended to be my friend, we never were. Turns out she had hit her lowest low, and she messaged me towards the end of my freshman year of college. I was calm and civil, and we talked about what happened between us, then finally she did it again. She turned it all on me, and I lost it. I broke down and finally told her everything, all of the wretched times I had with her, all the hate I endured because of her, every bit of pain she caused me. I made sure she knew all of it was her fault, and that I could never forgive her for wasting so much of my life on a selfish brat like her. She begged me to take her back, begged me to forgive her, but I told her I was done playing her game, done repeating this cycle, that I never wanted to speak to her again and that she needed to leave me alone forever. I didn't bother waiting for a response before I blocked her on everything I possibly could. I haven't seen or heard from her since, so I believe I'm finally free from this torment. I don't want the takeaway of this video to be that Dex is a victim. I don't claim that. I'm a prevailer and a stubborn one. This experience, this person, was a seasonal part of my life that made me strong and confident in myself after it was all over, something I would have never been able to achieve without being broken down first. Sure, it hurt, but pain isn't forever. Sometimes I miss Charlie, and if this story sounds familiar to one of you viewers, you know who you are. And I hope you've come to know the pain that you caused me and the mistakes you made. But there's a new addition to the story. After all of that, Charlie, I forgive you. And I hope you're taking care of yourself. Real care. And I mean it when I say I forgive you. Part of why I wanted to talk about this, obviously it's a wild story, but I wanted to bring awareness to this kind of situation. Friends can be fake, and it's okay to tell these people that they are hurting you, and it's especially okay to walk away from a harmful relationship. Don't do what I did and stick around. If you are being hurt, harassed, or bullied, get out of there as fast as possible. Don't give it time to percolate and grow on you. Don't let people steal your joy and dampen your soul. And for the other side, in what world is it okay to treat someone the way Charlie treated me? I don't care what your personal issue is. You have no right to treat a human or any living creature like that. If someone calls you out for being a jerk, take the L and move on to be better. Don't argue that you're actually completely innocent and that the person you are hurting is in the wrong. But above all else, I want to stress the importance of forgiveness. While it may not be easy to forgive those that hurt us, harboring anger and resentment only hurts you and your soul more. The moment you can forgive and move on, the moment you free yourself from the shackles that remain deep down. Narcissism comes quietly, but it gets louder the tighter its grip on its victim becomes. Victims of narcissistic abuse usually put up walls afterwards, develop insecurities, and find it difficult to trust again. But I'm telling you, this doesn't last forever. Surround yourself with healthy things, uplifting words, people, music, and media. Find hobbies that fulfill yourself, and find close individuals that you know you can trust to vent to and spend time with. For me, I had a hard time finding close friends again after this. I spent a lot of time talking with my mom, but soon, I found friends at school that are now my best friends for life, and I couldn't be more grateful for them. It took a while, but eventually my walls were broken down and I felt freed. Coming to terms and making this video has allowed me to finally put this in the past and move on. Like I said, I miss the good times, but I know those will never come back. So it's best to just remember them fondly and continue forwards with my friends and family now. We must live in the present and stop focusing so much on the past. Now, enough of all this happy stuff. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like and a comment, and be sure to subscribe. If you liked this video, liked this art, or maybe you even like me, be sure to check out my other platforms via the link tree in the description, and maybe even consider supporting me on Ko-Fi, where I have commissions, one-time donations, and adoptable OCs available right now. But anyways, again, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time.